bitch. I'm Jeff Krupp, and I am AFP. Great to have you with us tonight. Thanks to all of you for coming out. I also want to thank the band for doing a great job. Weren't they hot? Huh? Now you got to stay tuned because they have an outstanding song to play a little bit later here. It is called We Surround Them, and you're gonna love it if you haven't heard it. But in a moment, we've also got Dr. Rick Jackson's going to come here and share an incredible song he wrote that's about faith, family, and freedom, and you're going to love it too. Now, friends, I want to thank all of our partners that helped us put this on, the 9/12 Project, Patriotic Resistance, the Tea Party, Patriots, others of you. Thank you all for coming out and being a part of this great event. We're strong when we stand together, friends.
You know, I've got one thing to say. I'm going to throw my 2 cents in, and then I'm just going to start introducing folks. But here's what I see. You know, whether you believe that climate change is happening as they say, or whether you don't believe it, the fact is that the solutions being advocated by that man in the other building will not work. Will not work. What's more important is that it will put a boat anchor around this economy. It's going to cost jobs. It's going to destroy businesses. It's going to make this country something that our founding fathers never wanted it to be. The solutions to our ecological problems are spurred by innovation that you get in a healthy economy. That's right. Solar cells, windmills, all of the things that they talk about came about through innovations in the private sector. Okay? You damage the private sector, it ain't going to work. And what they're trying to do is use fear to get us to accept policies ideologically driven that they cannot get us to accept at the ballot box. Right? So do not be fooled. This isn't going to work, and I have faith that we're going to stop all of this.
Well, good evening, Portland, Oregon. You know, when Jeff Krupp called up and he said, guess who's coming to town? Al Gore. And let me tell you, I think we can all agree on this. The #1 emitter of hot air in America has to be Al Gore. Right? This cap and trade legislation will literally destroy the American economy. And I just want to leave you with 3 points. You know, when you hear the term cap and trade, I just want you to remember 3 things to tell your friends, your families, folks you're trying to influence, your senators, your House members, etc. #1, cap and trade means lost jobs. Look, we know what cap and trade does. They tell us their goal is to cap energy in America. When you ration something, what happens to the price of it? It goes up. When you have cheap, abundant energy, that's the best chance we have to move our economy, to get it moving again, to lower this disastrous 10.2% national unemployment rate. And when we're not going to give them our economy by rationing energy and driving up the cost of energy. You know, the folks you hear behind you, you know what they want? They want $8 a gallon gas. They want you to pay that. Well, guess what? We're going to say no to $8 a gallon gasoline. We know what it does to families and businesses. The folks protesting across the way and Al Gore inside, they actually want your utility bills to go through the roof on these cold Oregon winters. They want that. Why? Because they want to dictate to you and to me how we live our lives, don't they? They want the power to decide the kind of America we're going to live in. Well, we're telling them no way, no how, and we're going to beat them on cap and trade. We're going to win this legislation battle. You can bet we are. And the third thing you mean, when you hear cap and trade, it means lost jobs and higher taxes. But the third thing it means is a loss of your individual freedoms.
I wasn't going to say much tonight, and I'm going to keep it short, but as somebody who studied atmospheric science, and this was a passion all my life, I have never seen such a horrific abuse of science by Mr. Gore and all the people who have signed on to this. I did my undergraduate work in atmospheric science at Oregon State University back in the 70s. And when we studied all this back then, the founding work never had any contention at all that CO2 can cause climate change in the Earth's atmospheric system. It's inferior to water vapor, and there have been discoveries made since the climate models came out. And what they actually did was, they never disproved the founding work. What they did was they supplanted it with the climate models, and now we know they don't work. So I'll just bring up a few of the embarrassing episodes that have been put forth to Mr. Gore. And they're the same ones that Christopher Monckton wants to debate him on, but do you think Gore has got the guts to do it? Of course not. Mr. Gore, can you hear me? Because Christopher Monckton on Fox News has asked you to debate him on worldwide television. Are you up for the debate, Mr. Gore? Probably not. Well, here's the embarrassing facts that Gore doesn't want to talk about. The climate models always predicted that CO2 and temperature would track. Not one of them broke away from that. What we found was, about 5-6 years ago, the temperature stopped doing that. That's when global warming became climate change, because they couldn't explain how the temperatures started tracking away from CO2. Then we had James O'Brien from Florida State University give the embarrassing findings that the rural temperatures in the southeastern United States were cooling, not warming, contrary to Gore's claims and the claims of the climate models. Then we found that Fred Singer's work proved that the hot spot in the tropical mid-troposphere that was forecast to emerge by the climate models, which is a very important theoretical test to the validity of these models, never emerged. In fact, it cooled where the model said it was supposed to warm. No hot spot. And the last thing that's happened, the latest paper that came out that's actually devastating to Gore and all of his sycophants, was done by Richard Lindzen from MIT, and he's probably the most pronounced, the most awarded theoretical meteorologist in the United States. He just put out a paper and got a hold of the measurements, and I've always said this when I've debated people about the CO2 warming hypothesis. It's one thing to have a model constructed that says something is going to happen. It's quite another thing to have your measurements to back you up. And I keep asking these people, and I would ask this to Al Gore if I could confront him, where are the measurements that you're talking about? And it always draws a blank stare. They never give you the measurements. Well, Dick Lindzen got a hold of them. Guess what? The measurements show in his latest paper and off the satellites that contrary to what the climate models predicted again, the outgoing radiation from the Earth's surface as the global temperatures of that part of the world warmed during that warming period we just went through, the radiation went up with the temperature, not down like the climate models said. That, if anything, blows away the climate models and discredits them. That paper does, and it just came out. Gore won't talk about it though, but it's there. And to me, that's convincing evidence that the founding work is right, the models are wrong, they've been going down this wrong path for a long time, and because of the fact that they ignore empirical evidence, they don't want to talk about it. That includes our elected officials. This is no longer really an argument in my mind about science. It's about hoodwinking you into believing that there's a crisis to solve that doesn't exist, and they want to take money from you. This government is broke, it's out of ideas, and the climate stuff is just a big fraud, in my opinion, to get money from people that they're not entitled to have. If there was evidence that it was there, I'd be the first to jump along on the bandwagon and support it, but there has never been. I've been suspicious of this from day one because of my own training. And the more I look into it, the more of a fraud I see that it is. And Lindzen's paper is devastating to these people. So keep up the good work. It's great to be out here and to speak about this. I'll do my best to continue to try to educate about it, just as an advocate of the truth, and make sure the truth gets told. And all of you keep up your work in getting the message out about this as well. We need to shut Al Gore down. We need to stop this climate fraud. We need to stop cap and trade. It's going to wreck everything, and for no good reason except to enrich people like him. Keep it up.